What's going on, Omnibuddies? Mitch here, and today we are doing one of my favorite videos of the year. We are doing my library tour. So don't judge, have some shelf respect, and let's get into it. All right, so first things first, the bulk of my library is down in what kind of quadruples as mainly my wife's office, my library. These cabinets down here are my kids' play toys and all of that kind of stuff, puzzles, some books, costumes, all that kind of stuff that kids love. And then it doubles as like my recording, filming, editing studio. And then it's this playroom too. So it's got a ton of stuff that it does. But you know what? So it's got to be flexible, it's got to be functional. So what I have here in, again, the main bulk of my library is 4 IKEA Havsta shelves. I love the Hemnes, but we needed the closed storage in the bottom, and I wanted the separate opening tops, which are really nice because one, the glass doors keep the dust out. So like in the past couple of years I've owned these shelves, I've never had to dust my books, which is phenomenal and really nice. And then with kids coming in here, my kids know not to touch the books and generally don't, but they have their friends come in and they want to look at them too and take a look at them and see them. But the knobs being super high keeps it from being too much of a temptation to get in there, especially the really little kids. They can't reach that high. So it adds a layer of protection from that. We got like a window over here that's into my office, or the office library. I might put some UV protection on that window rather than UV protection on the glass on the doors, because it'd be like one window versus all of these doors, which would be a pain. Just to add some protection too. We'll see what happens. But this is the main bulk of the books of my library. I do have my closet of shame upstairs, and we will take a look at that. So that is kind of the train depot where books come in and go out. And I do keep some extra storage up there because some of the comps I get sent I do a little side work with like magnetic press, and then, just doing this channel, sometimes I get comps in. So some of those live up there too. And then I have a bunch of stacks of books that I am selling right now. I actually just made a post a little bit ago. So a bunch of those books are actually going too. I might just show those really quick, but those are all on the way out. And yeah, so that is the bulk of my collection. We will take a look at the first 2 cabinets here, and then we'll take a break and head up to my closet of shame. And then we'll come back and finish out with these last 2 cabinets here. I really love this library that I have set up. I love how it functions, how it works. I still got I did a bunch of reorganization of the books over here at the end, so you'll see those at the end of the video and the tour. But I still want to do a lot of reorganization, take a bunch of my DC and even Marvel books and take them up to the depot, not necessarily because they're going to be leaving or anything like that. Some of them will be, but more or less to get the bulk of my indie comics, because that's really what my channel in the past couple of years has begun to focus on, is indie comics and indie publishing, and get most of my indie books down here, so that when I talk about loving indie books, it's not just always a huge swath of Marvel and DC in the background. Don't judge my organization. I have a very strange method to how I've organized my library. Some of it might not agree with you, but the vast majority of what I do is I keep it kind of the Marvel, DC, Image, and like Dark Horse kind of stuff. Some of it's kind of scattered, like I got Dark Horse library editions down here, but I have a bunch of Dark Horse over here because of the deluxe editions. It's kind of where they fit on the shelving. But I have a mostly aesthetic style. So I try and keep the publishers together, a little bit of chronological order too when I can, but a lot of it is aesthetic. So you'll see a lot of that as we go through. And like I said, I'm constantly trying to reorganize and come up with a better method to not just make it aesthetically pleasing, but also make it chronologically and how it was published and by publisher, have all of that make sense. So all right, I'll stop talking about it right here. Let's jump over to the DC, a little bit of Image Dark Horse shelf, and get right into it. Basically, I'll start off. We have most DC in here. We have some Image and some other books that don't quite fit anywhere else with Dark Horse and things. We got Eternaut, Bjorn, Volume 1 here, Death and Glory, Stranger Things. I don't know, I have Volume 2 up here. I have Volume 1 and 3 upstairs, and those need to come down here at some point. I did have them down here, but they got kind of bumped out with some other stuff. So I gotta do some, like I said, I gotta do some reorganizing here. But Death and Glory, Stranger Things. I love Stranger Things, by the way. The overview of Volume 1 and 2. Some of my bigger videos, actually. And if you haven't been watching or reading Stranger Things and you like horror and you love the 80s feel and genre, check it out. Eternaut, I actually have to go back. I'll try not to talk about every single book. But Eternaut, I need to go back and finish. I'm about a third of the way through. And what happened was I started reading it a couple months into the pandemic. And we were in the summer of the pandemic. And I got to it. I'm like, okay, I want to read Eternaut. And I started reading it. And it was good. But it's about like some crazy disease and everyone's trapped in their house. And then during the pandemic of that first summer up in the Pacific Northwest, we had like crazy wildfires and it was like raining ash and the sky was just dark orange for like half a week to a week. It was crazy. It was eerie. So you couldn't even like go outside in your yard because the air quality was so bad. And I started reading Eternaut, and it's basically like people are trapped in their houses from this like poisonous snow stuff. And I was like, okay, this is too close to home. I cannot finish this book. I really need to go back and finish it. It was really good, but it was a little too close to home for me. So I need to finish those. Snow Angels, I love Lemaire. Snow Angels was great. I got Lady Killers. We've got kind of my DC Black Label with Historia, Wonder Woman Historia, Dead Earth, Aquaman Andromeda, Catwoman Lonely City. We got Batgirl Burnside, Infinite Crisis Omni. All really great books. Some of my favorite Batman might be debatable by some people, but we got Batman New 52 by Snyder and Capullo. We got Tomasi's and Gleason's Superman and Batman and Robin. Oof, this book is what made Damian Wayne my absolute favorite DC character. So awesome. I love Damian, at least in this book. Friggin' awesome. Got Super Sons. This is the first edition. I think there's like 3 editions now, which is crazy. Aquaman by Jeff Johns. Man, that book is phenomenal. If you want to read some good Aquaman, Jeff Johns' Aquaman from New 52. Animal Man by Morrison. Animal Man by Morrison and Jeff Lemire. Gotta love Animal Man. We got Swamp Thing New 52. Love that book. I love the Rot storyline. And I actually haven't been able to read Nancy Collins' Swamp Thing yet. Can't wait for it. I never read Batman Noel this year. It was Christmas, and I always try and read Batman Noel. And I totally blanked on doing that. I love that book. It's like a retelling of the Christmas Carol with Batman on like Christmas Eve night. It's so good. It's awesome. And then we got Sandman, which I'm partway through Sandman Volume 1. I gotta finish the Sandman series. It's really good. But I gotta finish it. And then we got the Batman by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, which is not open, but I've read the vast majority of it in other editions. And I love that series. Then we got Grant Morrison's Batman, volumes 1 through 3. I got a custom dust jacket on volume 1 because I like that way better, that color way better. And I've read a bunch of this, not all of it. But yeah, then we got Gotham Central. If you are looking to read one DC omnibus, that is like you can be a one and done with it. You don't need a ton of prior knowledge. Just basically all the superheroes have like disappeared. That's all you really need to know. You don't even really need to know that, but about what happens outside of the superheroes with Gotham Central PD, the GCPD. So good. Absolutely love that series. I'm a huge fan of Brubaker and Rucka. Oof, so good. Then we got these are all custom dust jackets on here. So we got The Flash by Jeff Johns. We got Green Lantern Volume 1, Blackest Night, Green Lantern 2, Brightest Day, Green Lantern 3, and then I have my custom Green Lantern Corps Omni Volume 1, which I know that they've come out finally with like the Green Lantern Corps Omnis, so that's kind of obsolete, but that was like a custom Omni that I got from Europe, so super cool. Love that book. And then we have a couple hanging out up here. We have the Quarantine Sketchbook, speaking of quarantine and all that kind of stuff. Quarantine Sketchbook by Mignola. Love that art. Oh man, it's so good. And then the Rocketeer Complete Adventures by Dave Stevens. Really great slipcase edition. If you are interested in Rocketeer, this is the edition that you should grab. It's so good. And then we have Seven to Eternity by Remender. And then we have Deadly Class Volumes 1 through 4. I've read the first half of the series, I need to finish it up. Really good. And then, man, I love these Image, like, library edition size. So nice, great quality. And these Deadly Class books just look classy. They just look classy. And then we got Jeff Lemire's Maze book, that Dark Horse Direct Edition. Oh, man, Maze book is such a good series. It's such a good story, especially if you're a dad or a parent. Oh, it hits hard. I mean, most of Lemire's really cool stuff that I love, like Maze book, Underwater Welder, and Essex County. Those are kind of my 3 top Lemire books. I mean, Underwater Welder and Maze book are very like parent focused, becoming a parent, losing a child as a parent, and then Essex County is like a slice of like 3 different lives and how they intertwine. But really great stuff. Love that book. It's got that nice texture feel. So, such a good quality bind. Love it. And then we have Avatar: The Last Airbender series in here. We got how many volumes are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 volumes of Atla. And then we have the 2 volumes of Legend of Korra. I've read a bunch of these. I got to read some of them still. There's a couple bookmarks in this one because my 2 oldest daughters love reading these series, so they have their own bookmarks in these. They just reread most of them earlier this month, actually. So we just got them back in here. We got Legend of Korra in here. They haven't watched that show yet. It's a little bit more mature, a little bit too mature for them at this age right now. So eventually they'll watch it, and then they can read those books too. And then we have my Mignolaverse library editions here. So we have our Encounters with Evil, Amazing Scrawn Head and Other Curious Objects, and then we have Hellboy's volumes 1 through 6, and then Hellboy in Hell, which I have a custom dust jacket on Hellboy in Hell, but I also own the custom dust jackets for 1 through 6. I think I said this in my last year's library tour, but I just haven't gone through and put them on yet. But I don't know, I'm kind of undecided if I want to put dust jackets on these books. They're just pretty, and they're nice, and they're classy. Anyways, so that's section 1 of my library. It's mostly my DC stuff. Actually, I think it's like basically all my DC stuff. I have a few DC Omnis upstairs, and then has some of my library edition sized books down here, which happens to be like mostly Dark Horse with some Image stuff in there. Then we can close this up here. I got these nice lights up here. You can't really see them, but they hang over and they add some nice ambience. And I just added them this year, so I don't think they were there last year. So let's scooch over to the next section here. So this is one of my favorite looking shelves right here, actually. Right here. I love these Image hardcovers and how they look. Make sure this is focused on there. But man, it's awesome. And I know there's a tiny bit of shelf sag. This is like the only shelf I have that has a little bit of shelf sag, but it has not moved since I put books in there a couple years ago. So keeping an eye on it, but it's looking good. Anyways, so we can start off at the top. We got some books that don't fit or are just kind of awkward and I don't have enough room for them in other places. But we have like Punk Rock Jesus by Sean Murphy. I love, or Shane Murphy. Shane Murphy. Oh, now I'm getting myself confused. Anyways, love that Punk Rock Jesus book. And then we have Black Sad, the 4 volumes there. I actually got to put the We All Fall Down volume part 2 up there. And then we have a little sketchbook by Ben Bender. We got Tech Filter, which was a great little one-off book by Diego Frias over across the pond. Really cool guy. You should follow him on Instagram. He does a lot of great stuff on Instagram and a lot of great like tutorials and drawing videos on YouTube and all that. Really cool stuff. Really great guy. And then we got Home, which was a great series. We got The Wake again. Oh man, Snyder Murphy. I loved that book. I know the ending is kind of back and forth on if people liked it or not. It was different. Wasn't what I was expecting, but I thought it was still good. And then we got The Complete American Gods by Gaiman. And then we'll move on over to, this should not be here, but it's where it fit for now. The Complete Paradise 2, Terry Moore. So it's like one of his latest Kickstarters. We got Cowboy Ninja Viking Deluxe Edition. We got a TMNT, what is it, the 30th anniversary edition up here, something like that. My brother-in-law got it for me for Christmas like 3-4 years ago. Really cool edition. It has like issue 1 reprint and a couple other really cool like prints in there, and it's awesome. And then we have The Golem of Venice Beach, which was another Kickstarter. I do a lot of Kickstarters. I love Kickstarter for finding really cool, interesting new graphic novels. So that's a tip if you like graphic novels. There's a Kickstarter graphic novel Kickstarter edition watch Facebook group that we have. There's only like 100 people a part of it, but if one of us finds a cool graphic novel on Kickstarter, we're always posting it on there. So if you want to keep up with that, that's a great little group to find on there. Golem of Venice Beach which was really cool. Volume 2 is coming out soon. It's been announced coming out. I think they haven't. I don't think they've done the Kickstarter for it yet. I think they announced that they're going to be launching it soon. Then we got The Complete Gail Simone, Gail Simone's Red Sonja. That's a really great book. I loved that book. This is the only Red Sonja I've read before, and it is fantastic. Flintstones by Mark Russell, another fantastic book. I think it's 12 issues, and it hits on all different kinds of socio-political, economic, philosophical problems, all different kinds of stuff. Like he threw every single, like, in the back of the book, he's like, if I never wrote a book again, I wanted to get everything I had to say out. It was a really interesting, really cool take on the Flintstones, using them as the device to talk about all of these social issues. Really great book. Sleeper Omnibus, Brubaker and Shane Phillips. Speaking of which, Brubaker and Shane Phillips, like, all over here. Okay, so then we'll get down, and right here too, we got all the like Reckless, Friend of the Devil, Monster, Destroy All the Monsters, Ghost in You, Follow Me Down. I think I'm missing 1 or 2 of the books after that. I gotta look in. I kind of forgot to pick them all up. We got Pulp, we got Bad Weekend, My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies, really great series books, and then some really great underrated books. If you've never read them, The Black Beetle, there's by Francesco Francavilla, which I love his art. He's one of my absolute favorite artists. So I love his art. But he's got 2 hardcovers. He's got a 3rd part that he hasn't finished yet, to my knowledge. He really needs to finish it. It's so good. I love The Black Beetle. It's like super pulpy and super fun. Very kind of Lobster Johnson, if you know Lobster Johnson, or even The Rocketeer. Really great book. And then speaking of Kickstarters, we got Weapon Brown by Jason Youngbluth. And then I have his other version, his second half, Weapon Brown Aftershock up here. So I believe he might be doing a collected edition that collects both of these into one, because this is super, super expensive and hard to print and hard to find, out of print and hard to find. I think I got the very last one off of his website after he had some extras from the Kickstarter. Ooh, I was very glad to be able to get that. I asked him to, he signed it, he remarked it, and I was like, can you just put like a 0 out of 0 edition on there? So he did that, which was super awesome. And then I got it, I'm like, it looks like a percentage, like you wrote percentage, because 0 dash. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. Anyway, super fun. God Hates Astronauts, which is Soul and Brown. Curse Words, which was a really great book. I ended up selling that off because I wasn't going to read it again. But I still have God Hates Astronauts. And then one of my favorite series I always recommend to people, we've got Castle in the Stars, volumes 1 through 4. And I know in French they're up to like volume 6 right now. We're just waiting for 5 and 6 in English. At any point they can come out with those. Please come out with those. This series is phenomenal. If you love steampunk and adventure, this is it. They do space travel with like airships in a very steampunk style. It's so good and so fun. There's politics and romance and like danger and adventure and space travel. It's so good, so fun. I love this series. And go to another book right after that, which was not fun to read at all, is Did You Hear What Eddie Gein Done? That book is beyond disturbing and terrible. If you want a horror book for Spooktober or anything like that, it usually makes like any Spooktober list that I talk about, because that book is horrendously scary and horrible to read. Anyways, moving on to a book that I absolutely love is Essex County. So this is one of my treasures right here. It's one of the of 500 slipcase signed editions. I know there's a 1 of 50 edition that's basically the same thing. It's just got like a card insert and things like that, but otherwise it's like near exactly the same. But an Omnibuddy hooked me up as a surprise for free for this edition, and it's it's number 456 out of 500. Oh, I love this book so much. Oh. And then we got more Lemire. We got Roughneck, Berserker, Primordial, The Nobody, Frog Catchers, and then one of my favorites again with Lemire, we got Underwater Welder. So good. And this is one of the signed numbered editions too. We've got all 3 volumes of Sweet Tooth. I know that there's Return to Sweet Tooth, Return of the Return, something like that. I haven't been able to read that yet, but got more Jeff Lemire. We got The Joker, Killer Smile. We've got Trillium, which was one of my first Jeff Lemire books actually that I ever read. So love having that. We got AD After Death, Royal City, and then we jump into I Kill Giants Titan Edition, which took me forever to find the Titan Edition because it's super, super out of print. But if you haven't read this book, get the trade paperback, because this is one of the few books that has, I don't cry. I haven't, like, it's not like a point of pride or anything. I'm broken inside. I don't know. But a book, one of the very few books that almost made me cry. Like I could feel it in my throat. I Kill Giants. Wow, that book hit hard. So good. So poignant. Amazing art, amazing story. Yeah. So don't sit on that story just because you can't find the hardcover. And then we got TKO Studios. They finally did some real hardcovers, which is super cool. We got Sentient or Sarah, which was a great book by Ennis and Epstein on these Russian sniper group of women. Super cool story. Really good. We got Sentient by Lemire again. I have like all my Lemire stuff, but I had to put the TKO books together and the Red books needed to go together. I do a lot of aesthetic organizing in my shelves, so sometimes stuff gets unorganized because of my weird organization. I don't know, whatever. I'm kind of more of an aesthetic organization than a functional organization. I guess if I had a massive library that wouldn't work as well, but here we are. And then going back to books that are super disturbing, and one that I still haven't been able to bring myself to finish is Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith. So this is the numbered edition, or it was some kind of limited edition. Um, the book's really good, but really, really, really hard to read. And I was reading it. I think I went from The Eternaut to Monsters, and then like I did a third book, and it was just terrible picks for like during the like worst part of the lockdown for me. And my job had to do a lot with the lockdowns in our state and like delivering that news and messaging and communicating to the public on it. And it was like coming out of work from like dealing with everyone on every side being upset, and then coming and reading some of these books. I was like, I got to find something happy to read. So I think I just read some Usagi Yojimbo for a while and just like cleared my brain. Anyways, and then going back to more wartime stuff after Sarah, we have Shooters by Eric Trotman and Jerwa. This is, so Trotman is, his wife owns my local comic shop. So that's the main reason I picked up this book. But they have a close connection with her family of a PTSD, post-war suicide and all that. And it was rough for them. And part of that processing and bringing that to light and the issues with all that, he wrote this book called Shooters. It is really good. It's such a solid, not wartime story. I mean, I guess it is, but like what happens after the war to these individuals. Really great book. And then I have The Private Eye in here by Brian K. Vaughan, kind of hidden back here. That's the signed edition too. And then we move down to one of my favorite shelves. So we have Tokyo Ghost. So we got Remender and Murphy again, and Hollingsworth on color. I love Hollingsworth's color. That book is phenomenal. I love that book. We got Murder Falcon, which is, I haven't been able to get to it yet. And up here under the shelf, which you can't see, is The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. I kind of have some of these books having to stack around a little bit, which is another reason why I have to do some big reorganization. But here we are. Okay, and then we have Manifest Destiny, Volumes 1 and 2. Just got 2 in. I just filmed the unboxing of the video right before this because I wanted to be able to have it in here. Manifest Destiny. I love this series, and I'm so excited to finally have Volume 2 to complete out the series. Okay, now we're getting into, I talked about a book that almost made me cry, one of the few books that almost made me cry. The other book that I can think of that almost made me cry, which is weird to say this because it's like a space opera, but is Saga. The end of Saga, I think it was Volume 3. Was the end of Volume 2 or something. There was a spot in there with a father-daughter thing happening where they get reunited. Ugh. I have daughters, and that hits hard for me. So that was one of the one. I love this series so much. Saga is great. It's sci-fi, space opera. I love that kind of stuff too. The art is phenomenal with Fiona Staples. So good. And then we continue the space saga. And I love this series too. Volumes 1 and 2 of Descender, and then we got Ascender to close it out. I really wish, my only issue with this series is that Ascender should have been 2 books because it was too compressed. They should have done Descender 1 and 2 and Ascender 1 and 2. But the whole thing overall was an amazing story. And then we got, hopefully this series will be finished out very soon, according to Rucka. But we got Lazarus 1, 2, and 3. Thank God those got reprinted so that people could get them. And hopefully Volume 4 will be coming out as they finish it, hopefully in the 2025, I think, is what I heard. So then we can get the rest of that story. Then we got Brubaker and Phillips. We got Fatal, and then we got Fade Out. We got Incognito. We got the 3 criminal books. We got Cruel Summer. So all of that craziness of Brubaker and Phillips goodness. And then we have continuing it with Kill or Be Killed, another one of my favorite books. Loved that series. I love those mind-bending mysteries. Velvet, which is Brubaker and Epting, is one of the books that I give to people who don't read a lot of comics and want something a little bit more grounded. And it's basically uh, like if the secretary at the secret agent at the agency for the secret agents was a former spy, and she gets pulled back into spying, but she's the secretary, and no one really realizes. So cool, super cool, and it's kind of play on some historical stuff going on too. Really great. Postal, another really good story, um, and that's got like supernatural horror elements and mystery and small town creepy vibes. Love it. We got Middle West by Young, and man, that book was super cool. Weird, out there, but Young tells a great story. It was weird. I thought Young did the art for it, but Corona, he did the art for it, and I was like, oh, he's doing very good, like Scotty Young style, like a little bit different, but like fits perfect with Scotty Young stuff. Really cool story. And then we have Gideon Falls again, Lemire, and Sorrentino with Stewart on color. For Gideon Falls volumes 1 and 2. Can't really see it over here, but you know what? Yeah. So, all right, now we're moving on. We got my Ninja Turtles collection down here. We have volume 2 is missing right now because it's upstairs and I'm reading it as I read a bunch of other books at the same time, because that's how I do things. So we got volumes 1 through 7 of the Ultimate Collections, which is like the original TMNT series. And then we have, what is this up to now? 1 through 16 of the IDW series. I love this series. I know some people love it. Some people absolutely hate how this series kind of ends. And I know Jason Aaron is now on the series, and it's started up with a new one. I haven't read any of that yet, but yeah, so we'll continue with that new IDW Jason Aaron run. But man, this series, especially like the first 5 volumes of this, just hit so hard and are so good, and some of the best TMNT I've watched, read, played. That story is so solid. And then we have The Last Ronin and Lost Years Last Ronin. We got Batman and TMNT. All 3 of those books are so good. And then because it fits here, it's kind of that Image library edition size, we got Low by Remender, volumes 1 and 2. And then we just got some random Kickstarter books down here. So we got Red Atomica by Sal Abernathy, and Cosmic Detective by Lemire Kint and Rubin. And then we have The Great Gatsby from Clover Press. Super cool. And then just got this in a little bit ago. We got The After Realm by Omin. So I'm really excited to jump into some more Omin's book. I love that guy. Love his stuff. All right. And then we got the little Ninja Turtle peg people that my wife painted me for my birthday one year. Like, come on. Look at them. Look at them. Look at them. They're so cute. Anyways. All right. Put him back. Then we can close it up. All right. That was a lot of talking. It's been a long video already. I'm sorry. We'll try and go faster. There's more series in a lot of these coming up, so hopefully we can get through it faster. But let's take an intermission and go up to my my closet of shame. All right, so first things first, here is my pile that is all being sold off. As you can see, I have a bunch of Berserk here. I've read about half of it now, and while I like it, it's a little bit too dark for me to read for that long and commit for that long. So as of now, I'm going to be selling that off, and I have a bunch of stuff I've posted for sale, and a bunch of this has actually been sold already too. And here's some sold pile stuff and all of that. But let's get over into my closet of shame here. Oof, it is well, it's kind of dark in here. Let me turn some things up so we can see what we got going on here. So you can see I have some books here. So a lot of these are couple of them I have to still organize a little bit, but still got to read these to do some overviews. Same for the Marvel vs. DC, but I've gotten like all of these read and need to do some overviews on those. And then here's some next up books that just came in that I also need to be doing some overviews of, some Magic stuff. Scott Pilgrim just came in, this box set, so I still got to get that in here. And then we got a bunch of books back here that are kind of being reworked a little bit, but I want to get those, a lot of them up on my shelves and things. Skies of Fire, Berserker, Mountains of Madness, It Remains. These two books were both on my top 10 of the year. I got a nice image shelf right here. I want to really get all these image books out there too. And then we got some more books over here, which are, Dreadstar, really great, old school space sci-fi, all that kind of stuff, goodness. And then we got Passageway and the Bone Orchard Saga and all of that, which I love. Lemire and Sorrentino's stuff with that, great horror. And then we have my Matt Kint shelf, which, I love this shelf so much. It's so good. I'm mid-reading Mind Management. That's why Volume 2's gone right now, because it's on my nightstand. This is Hairball, which is like a very, very dark book, velvety kind of stuff. But man, so many of these books are so good. I've read these guys. I've read Super Spy and Spy Superb. I got to read Pistol Whip still and finish Mind Management. But yeah, and then I am halfway through my Invincible readathon, so I got to watch season 2 now, because what is this? Season 1 is 1 through 3, season 2 is 4 through 6. So I just read 6 a little while ago, so now I can finally catch up on season 2, but season 3 is coming out soon, so I need to then read 7, 8, and 9 so I can watch that season, and then 11 and 12 in there. We got some, let's see if I can move this stuff one-handed out of the way. Ugh. All right, so now we got some Marvel in here. I don't know, maybe a third of the way through Savage Avengers. Pretty fun. Love Doctor Strange, that old school Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, Adam Warlock. So good. And then obviously Hickman's Fantastic Four, which I need to put with all the other Hickman stuff. But you know what? It's the book depot. It's coming in and out, and probably put most of my Marvel in here too. And then some of the DC. Godzilla, so good. We got Cartoonists Against Racism. We got a couple of my Dungeons and Dragons book that worked their way in here somehow. Clover, some manga, which should probably go down with Mountains of Madness. But you know what? This is all the Closet of Shame in and out. We got Catwoman of East End. We've got Injustice Volumes 1 and 2. And then if we come down here, we got some other just Batman, DC books going on. Some extra Usagi, that this is the one I hand bound and with the Turkish edition, and made a hardcover because they weren't making a hardcover of that originally, the Homecoming book, IDW, but then they actually did. So now I have an extra one here, which is cool. And then Warden in here. I got to do an overview on this. This was a comp sent to me, and I need to do an overview of that because it's pretty cool. Batman Black Mirror. So good. And then one of my buddies sent me the Kingstone Bible graphic novels, and they're super cool. I should definitely do an overview on that. I think BJ Kicks actually did a big overview on it too a while back. But yeah, so definitely some cool stuff in there. Trying to move some stuff out of the way. We got Norse mythology down here, which I still got to read too. So many things to read. Let's see. Got Smoke and Ashes, which I'm reading right now. So that's actually the empty slipcase sitting on my, because the other one's on my nightstand. These are the, man, I'm blanking on the name right now. Oh man, why am I blanking on the name of these guys? But really good series by it's Stranger Fiction, something like that. Really cool series, very D&D based. And then we have my Claws books over here. It's really cramped in here. That's why I'm trying to work my way around a little bit. But
But yeah, so we got all that in there for my bookshelves. And then we have all my magnetic press stuff and extra boxes and things. Let's close this closet door so that we can see the real closet of shame in here. But here we have like a bunch of my boxes and things like that, and random things. We got Monster Size Hellboy in here, some other comps going on. And then we have just all these magnetic press books in here, which I just got a bunch of them actually from cashing out my ambassador points that you get from backing their Kickstarters. And I had like 250 bucks worth of ambassador points. So I cashed those all out for gift cards, and it had like a free shipping thing that we were doing on uh, uh, Black Friday or something like that, Cyber Week. And so I bought like 15 books. You can go watch that haul, but I got a whole bunch of them, and I've gotten a bunch of these from like other backings and things going on. Really excited to read Infinity 8. A bunch of these books I've read too already, and they're so good. And then I just have a bunch of extra Monte Cristo books and Jordan Mechner's journals and Wacomo and a bunch of extra black box. Here's an extra slipcase black box. We got Hercules in here, Monolith, Doom Boys right here. But yeah, so definitely Ghost Money, Just Bragg, Omnidog pushed me to get that one. So yeah, definitely some cool stuff in here. And then yeah, I just got a bunch of junk in here with some old, or not old, but like the 3D models I haven't put up yet. And then we got the Strangers in Paradise slipcase edition, the big old box set, bunch of like fun pops and Ninja Turtle figures and Usagi figures, and just a bunch of figures and some magic and things like that going on. Totally not necessarily organized, but fun to have in here. Little nerdy shrine going on, and some original some of the like Fantagraphics #1 of Usagi, and here's the second appearance of Usagi in Albedo. This is the back cover, and then first appearance of one of my favorite Marvel characters, Beta Ray Bill. So this is a signed edition. Wasn't witnessed, so it's qualified, but still super cool, super fun. And then I got my little drawing from David from OPB. I cut that off the box because it's super fun. I got some other pops back here, little Rocketeer, Batman Beyond. We got Beta Ray Bill, and we got Steve from Life Aquatic, of course. Anyways, so that is my weird little closet. That is all kinds of craziness, but I love it. All right, let's get back downstairs. All right, and we're back. I hope you survived my closet of shame. It's a long process, a big process. It's in work. Anyways, let's move on. All right, now we are into mostly the Marvel section, and also the magnetic press section. So basically we have Marvel and magnetic press with one random rando up there. But yeah, so let's get into it here. I can't really see the camera here, so let's kind of turn this a little bit. All right, so just stand over here. Makes more sense. All right, let's go back. All right, there we go. Bear with me. All right, so we have basically at the top, we have all the Star Wars Marvel up here, which you can't really see. I guess we could go up a little bit. There we go. There we go. All right, and we'll focus on that, not me. All right, so basically we have all the Marvel Star Wars up here. So we have Kanan, Dr. Aphra, Volume 2, because Dr. Aphra Volume 1 is over here. We have Han Solo. Then we have my lightsaber by Vire Sabers, which is a VHC variable hilt component lightsaber. So it's got like the whole RGB core inside, and you can customize it. And I built a little stand for it because it's yeah. And then we have Dr. Aphra Volume 2, Darth Vader, Omni,
and then volumes 1 and 2, and then we had the Star Wars stuff. So love the Marvel Star Wars stuff. So we got all that up there. And then randomly, because it fits up there, we have the Grass Cutter artist edition of Usagi Yojimbo, which I had to be very careful with because when this door is shut and my wife is using this office and she was on Zoom, I had that pushed over too far. And so behind this, and it basically, the GR in grass was cut off. And so all they could see was that cut, and it said like cut. So they're like, people on Zoom on my wife's meeting were like, what's that book behind you? Because it's, facing that direction. And she was like, oh my gosh. So she had to explain what it actually said. Funny to me. Wasn't funny to her at the time, allegedly. I think it was. But, here we are. Anyways, we'll move on. So these are my Captain America by Brubaker volume omnis, and these have custom dust jackets on them too. And so these, so they match that volume 1 DM edition that had come out first, and none of the other ones they all had black dust jackets on them, so they did not match. So we did some custom ones, and I actually have a custom on Secret Warriors too, because that I got that Omni and it was just all beat up, and the dust jacket was all beat up, so I got it reprinted. So these 5, so my first ever omnibus that I ever bought was Daredevil by Frank Miller. The second Omni purchase, well, the book that got me into graphic novel collecting was actually the Ninja Turtles. And I skipped over this one for some reason when I was talking about stuff up here. The Ninja Turtles Secret History of the Foot Clan work print edition. My buddy knew that I loved TMNT, and I absolutely loved that miniseries. It's one of my favorite miniseries of all time, especially from TMNT. Ooh, so good. So he's like, hey, there's this Facebook group with collected editions, and they got this TMNT book for like super cheap. Someone's selling it for. So I joined it. I was like, oh, sweet. So I joined the group, bought it, and then here we are. Omnibuddy was born because of that fateful moment. So bought that book, and then my first Omni after that group, I ended up buying Daredevil by Frank Miller. And then I bought all 5 volumes in one go while I think all of them were out of print, basically. So I got all 5 volumes for a steal of a price at the time, at least, and got them in and just tore through them. Oh my gosh, I loved this series so much. And then, we continue. We got Hickman with Hickman Avengers, volumes 1 and 2, and Secret Warriors. And then Wolverine by Mark Millar, which I love that one. It's got Old Man Logan in it. It was a great Omni. We got Doctor Strange. We've got Spider-Man collections by Bendis here. I don't have them all, but we're getting there. And then with Spider-Man, we got Venom by Cates. And then the book that got me into comics, that sold me on reading comics, that they could be super cool and weren't just like, super childish or anything like that. Because I hadn't really read comics before. I read some as a kid, but I read them as a kid and I didn't really understand or anything like that. Was Uncanny X-Force by Remender Pena. And I was like, holy cow, they can have really cool storylines and be super dark and very mature. And that is what got me hooked. My buddy at my LCS gave me the trade paperbacks, and I started tearing through them. And so when that book got reprinted the first time, I think it's been reprinted a few times now, I grabbed that one. So then we got, Daredevil, like I said, and then we got the Companion by Miller over there. And then we jumped down to one of my favorite space sagas. I love space stories. We have Thanos Wars, Infinity Origin. We got the Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, Infinity Crusade. All great. But then we get to the Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest, Road to War of Kings, and Realm of Kings. I love this series so much People talk about Conquest being better than Annihilation, and that's the argument. My thing is, those ones were good. I liked Annihilation. Conquest was great. Road to War of Kings was my absolute favorite of the 5 books in this series because it's kind of that calm before the storm, and a lot of stuff happens, and it has some really cool stories in it. I don't know. Not a lot of people talk about it. I feel like this is the standout of all 5 of those series. Anyways, then we get into Thor, the Mighty Thor by Simonson. So good. It's it's that it's not modern age. It's the old time Thor that you think of, but man, it is not hokey. Well, sometimes it's hokey, but it is so awesome and so fun and has so much good stuff in it and so much of the modern Thor that pulls from it. And then we go right into the modern Thor with Jason Aaron's Thor volume 1 and 2, and then War of Realms right here. Love Jason Aaron's Thor. Love it. So good. I haven't read the very end of all that, but yeah. Anyways, and then we have JLA Avengers, that trade paperback reprint up here. Got Black Bolt, which is such a good series. If you want to read some cool stuff, Black Bolt, that book is awesome. Okay, and then we got Doctor Strange The Oath, which is a hardcover, and I didn't realize it was super out of print, and I like shared pictures of it one time and people freaked out. They're like, "Where's that book from? What is that?" It's so good. I think it's a it was like a free comic book day. It is a local comic shop day. Get that focused up there. Local comic shop day book. Super cool hardcover. But yeah, so that's what that is. So I had to buy it a little bit later, but man, it was a really good book. And then we have Silver Surfer Black, which is like this treasury edition. So it's a trade paperback, but it's like huge. And it keeps on focusing on me. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it over there. All right. And then, so that wraps up like all the Marvel stuff. Now we get into one of my favorite shelves. And it is the magnetic press shelf of mine. I love this shelf so much. So first things first, we have Scurry Volume 1 through 3 by Max Smith, which is a great post-apocalyptic, but also anthropomorphic. Well, actually, it's not anthropomorphic. It's just regular animals, but they can talk. And it is super good series. Like what happens in this mouse colony after like most of the people are wiped out. It's really good. And it's so good. And I know there's like a compendium trade paperback collecting the whole thing. I really hope he continues it because it's so awesome. Okay, now we're going into the magnetic press stuff. So I have a huge portion of the magnetic stuff upstairs, as you saw in that section. But these are some of my favorites, the standouts for me. So we have Shangri-La and Carbon and Silicone. Carbon and Silicone is one of my absolute favorite books. Carbon and Silicon, love that book. Frankenstein, one of my top books of this year. We got Dracula, super good. And then we got Frontier, which was my top book this year. Awesome book. We got Adrastia. We got Monkey King, which is super good. Zaya, Naja, I think Naja. Tezukami, volumes 1 and 2. Really cool. Really cool books. Midnight Order, one of the most gorgeous editions you will come across. Really cool story. We got Arsène Lupin and Sherlock Holmes slipcase. We got Mezcal and Convoy slipcase. We got the Black Box slipcase editions. We got Lost Letters and My Dear Perot. Monte Cristo. If you love Count of Monte Cristo, this is a modern day retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo, but like just after, it's like just a year or two after 9/11 happened. Really interesting take. Carbon Gray, and then we have the Ogre Gods slipcase editions, volume 1 through 4, and then we also have one of my top books of the year, which is interesting. We have, my top 3 books was WYSIWYG, Frankenstein, and then Frontier, I think. So they're all right here. But WYSIWYG by Ed Piskor, super good book. Like really solid story. I think that, I don't have anything else up there. Yeah, and I got my little Monkey King miniatures that came with the book set. Super cool. And then all my challenge coins that come with the magnetic press books. So, anyways, that is that series, that shelf, as it were, that area. I don't know, whatever. It's getting late. I don't know. Anyways, okay, let's jump into this section, which I'm going to be doing some more organizing too. But we have, starting at the top. Well, for first things first, I got some um, uh, uh, David Peterson mouse guard art. He did Bloomborough Magic the Gathering, which is kind of sucking me into learning how to play Magic the Gathering. But those cards are the reason why, because of these. But yeah, so I got a bunch of his cards in the foil variants and things like that. Up here just is some cool art display stuff that I like to do. I like to keep my shelves pretty clean, but sometimes I toss some things in there anyways. But so we got my Terry Moore section with Strangers in Paradise slipcase. We got Echo, which was an awesome book. We've got Rachel Rising, which is one of my favorite books of all time. So this is the black edition. We got Motor Girl, Strangers in Paradise 25. We got 5 Years Later Omnibus. We've got Ever, The Way Out. We got Serial Omnibus, Parker Girls Omnibus, and then How to Draw Expanded Edition Kickstarter up here. So that's all of the Terry Moore stuff, except for the Strangers in Paradise 2 book that is way over there for some reason. It should be over here, but it's not. Anyways, then we got Bone Full Color Volume 1 edition, which I just backed his latest Kickstarter. I think he's breaking this book into 4 different books, but they're bigger. So, very exciting. Anyways, I love that book. My daughter has read it a couple times and really likes it and enjoys it. We got Ghost in the Shell full story, the Ghost in the Shell fully compiled edition. So we got some manga here. Then we got Akira volume. Oh, we got the extras back here, the extra book, because this is from the slipcase edition or the clamshell edition, but I took it out because it doesn't fit in here. So we got the extras over here, and then we got volumes 1 through 6 here. I loved Akira. I read the series and loved it, and I had wanted to watch the anime for the longest time, but I was like, okay, I want to read it first. And finally, I was able to get the series and read it, and I loved it. And then I watched the movie, and I did not like it at all. And probably because they compressed a bunch of it to be super, it was just super compressed, and they left a bunch out. And I know that they made the anime before the manga was actually finished, so it ended differently, and I was like, oh, this is weird. And so, anyways, the manga is amazing, and I loved it. And then we get to one of my most expensive shelves, also one of my favorite shelves here. We've got my Usagi Yojimbo shelf. So we've got the special edition Fantagraphics box set, the blue edition over here. I think you can see it. Can you see it? Yeah, okay, you can see it. So that's amazing to have. And then we have volumes. Well, I got both volumes 1, so I know someone might be upset with me for having 2 volume 1s, the first edition and the second edition, because all of the limited edition Saga hardcovers that they made were of 1,500 copies, and volume 1 only had 600 copies made. So they actually went back after they had done the Legends or volume 9 Legends book and Legends books. They went back and they actually reprinted another. Oh wait, no, they did 900 of volume 1 and 1,500 of everything else. They went back and made 600 more copies of volume 1, and it's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit it's the exact same book, but it has a blue hue instead of this black and gray hue. So yeah, so of 900 of 600. So actually the volume 1 second edition's more rare because there's a third less of them. But I have it too. And then we have through Saga, and then we have the IDW after it went through Dark Horse. It went Fantagraphics, Mirage. Yeah, then there's a little Mirage stint, and then it went to Dark Horse. But the Dark Horse Volume 1 includes that stint at Mirage, and then starts all of Dark Horse. And then gets to IDW, where it switched to IDW and switched to color. And so these are all the limited edition hardcovers. And there's way too much story behind that and how that all happened. And yeah, and it was really annoying how IDW treated Stan Sakai. It was terrible. And then we have Death and Honor, and then we have Ice and Snow. So now we're back at Dark Horse. He's doing more. So he went, Fantagraphics, Mirage, Dark Horse, IDW, and now he's back at Dark Horse, and Dark Horse is hopefully treating him right. We got the 40th anniversary reader. We've got the fan-made books, a couple of the fan-made books in here, TMNT Usagi books. We got Chibi Usagi. We've got a Turkish edition here because I used the hardcover to make a English hardcover when IDW wasn't doing it, so I got a second one. So I have that in here. Why not? And then we have 47 Ronin, which was by Sakai in here. Way back here, you probably can't see it. And then we have Isumbashi by Ryan Lang, which is a really cool book. So those are the only two non Usagi books in here. But one of them stands Sakai, and one of them is very, in that vein of Usagi. So then we get to, I'll just jump down here because it's like all my Mignolaverse Dark Horse Deluxe Editions. So it's all the Baltimore, the little one-offs, Mr. Higgins Comes Home, our encounters with Evil, Jenny Finn. Some of them aren't all fully canon. They're just kind of one-offs or something. But anyways, and then I haven't done it full. I got to go back through and redo the order a little bit. But they're at least through mostly like up to, I think, 1952 through 54, I think. I have it in chronological order. So it's not, you'll notice they jump around, Plague of Frogs 1, 2, 3, and then a couple books, and then jumps to Plague of Frogs 4. So these are all the hardcovers. Nearly, I think I'm only missing like Hellboy in Mexico and the Carnival, something Carnival. So I think I'm only missing like 2 smaller hardcovers from the Mignolaverse. But otherwise, I have like all of them in here. The Devil You Know down here. Then we have, this is where they kind of get out of order because I haven't gotten to the reorganizing them quite yet. But we have Joe Gollum, Lobster Johnson, which if you love pulpy fiction, you don't even have to know anything about the Mignolaverse. And these are great books to just read. We got Witchfinder, which I loved Witchfinder. We got all these other different smaller hardcover one-off books by that are in the Mignolaverse, and then we got Hellboy 55 through 57. So yeah, that's all like my BPRD Mignolaverse stuff over here as it slowly encroaches on everything else. And then we have Jeremy Bastion with his Cursed Pirate Girl book. That book is super cool. I cannot wait for more of that. The art in there is so detailed. There are very few books you will see with more detail than this, and it's actually drawn to the scale. This is the scale. So I mean, I'd love to see it bigger, but I talked to him at Emerald City Comic Con. I was like, it'd be awesome to see your art like in an absolute edition. He's like, that would be cool, but I actually drew it at the scale, and he draws it that detailed, that small. It's crazy, and a really cool story. Now, for more really cool story, and one of my top 10 reads of 2024, we have Rust by, why am I blanking? Royden Lepp. His 4 books of Rust, which are really cool series. And love those books. If you want more on that, there's overviews in my top 10. Go watch that. Same for Kanto, volumes 1 through 4. Can't wait for volume 5 to eventually come out, by Boer and Zucker. These books are super fun too. All of Rust and Kanto are really good for like younger readers, like, I don't know, 10 and up maybe. Really great stories. My daughter, who's 10, loves Kanto, loves it. And then we have some more manga here. We got Vinland Sagas, volumes 1, 2, and 3, which are awesome books. I love Vinland Saga. And then we have more Jeff Smith Bone. We have Jeff Smith Thorn right here. This is his Kickstarter edition, which is super cool. Yeah. And then, oh, yeah. And then I got this exclusive pin that I was able to get from Stan Sakai, and very, very exclusive. So that's super cool. And then when I was at Emerald City Comic Con, picking up a book or a bunch of stuff for some people, some of the Usagi guys from the Facebook group, for picking up a bunch of it. They say, hey, get yourself a watercolor from Julie Sakai, Stan's wife. And so I got an awesome, awesome watercolor commission from her. So cool. I cannot believe how cheap she does those for like, it was like $15. It's crazy. And then my daughter tried to copy it, and she did an awesome job too. And I love this. So this sits with my Julie Sakai commission too in front of all my Sakai stuff. So that wraps that up. And it's a lot. And I have huge stacks of books that are being sold and stuff. I got to figure out how to reorganize it. And it's crazy. But it's a fun hobby, fun journey. And that's kind of the thing is you got to remember is like, it's a journey, it's a hobby. It's not your entire life. And don't let it take over your whole life. Don't let it be the end all, be all of things. Have fun with it. They're books. They're cool stories. They're fun stories. They're stories that can like change you. They can make you think, which is great. Even if you don't agree with them politically or philosophically, if a book can make you think and reassess why you think that way, and even if you don't change your mind, then you're still thinking harder about it and learning more about why you think the way you do and reassessing and making sure that the way you're thinking is the way you want to be thinking. And that's the best part. And so it's all a journey. And you know, I'm gonna make a video about this eventually about like how much of my books I've actually in my collection I've actually read, and it's usually some people might scoff at this, some people might be shocked at how much of it or how little, either way, I've read of my collection. I'd say any given time it's between probably 50 to 60% of my collection that I've read. And sometimes I go, oh man, I should be reading like 80 to 90% of my collection. But then again, I think like I have these huge piles that like I get a book if it's FOMO, or sometimes, you know, like it's great running a channel and I get books sent to me. I get a lot of books sent to me. And so like some of them are ones like I've requested, and a lot of them are ones that just get sent to me. But so at any point I might go, you know, I don't think I'm actually going to read this book, or I don't. I read this book and it's not something I want to keep. That's the bigger thing is like I've read this book and I don't want to. It's not a book that I'm going to go back and read. I might have liked it, I might have loved it, but it's not a book that is going to perpetually take up space on my shelf and in my house. And so it gets sold off to make room and to make up some funds so I can get other books and try out other books. So a lot of my books, as I'm reading them, aren't staying on my shelves, and new books that I haven't read are coming in. So it's a perpetual cycle of like, oh, I've just read this big book and then it's out. So then new books come in. So I'm never at the point where I'm going to be reading all of my collection, because as I'm reading books and I don't want to keep them on my shelves and have them take up permanent space, they're going out. So then new books that are unread come in. So I'm constantly having that shuffle of out with the old and mostly read, hopefully, and in with new exciting books that I want to try out. So when you might look at my shelves and go, you haven't read half of your stuff or whatever it is, 60, 70% I've read, so it's like you haven't read 30 or 40% of your books. Well, it's because a lot of books that I have read have gone out and books that I haven't read yet are coming in. So maybe it's an excuse, maybe it's not, I don't know. Maybe I'm just gaslighting myself into thinking it's okay to not have read, 40% of my collection or whatever it is. So anyways, this has been an incredibly long video. So those of you who are still here, thank you for sticking with me. I know it was kind of a run and gun, kind of down and dirty video, trying to manually do things. But if I was going to try and put too much time into it, which I'd love to do, then it would just never be able to, I'd just never be able to get it out. But yeah, I wanted to show it off, talk a little bit, a lot, I guess, and get you guys all, and ladies, get everyone, all you buddies, able to see my shelves just get a closer look. So let me know in the comments if you've noticed anything, or if you have any questions for me about my collection, or if you have a question or want my thoughts, or other people's thoughts. If you want to comment on some tips on how you should be collecting, or some pitfalls, or I don't know, any kind of questions that you might have about your collecting experience or anything like that. But yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, do all those things. But most importantly, send those comments. And you know what? Thank you for watching. Thank you for another great year with 2024. I wouldn't be doing this if this community wasn't so awesome. So thank you for being such a great part of this community, and thank you for letting me be a part of this community. All right, that's it. Take care. Stay cool.